Now, let us welcome Shri Subramanian Chidambaran. So, he leads Cummins India strategy function, focusing on achieving the Destination Zero carbon emissions vision. He oversees electrolyzer and new power strategy, including batteries and energy storage. Previously managed strategy and digitalization at Siemens Distribution Business, handling global projects, cost reduction, and digitalization. His experience at McKinsey and Siemens Management Consulting spans transformation programs and business strategies across various sectors. Professor Subramanian holds postgraduate diploma in the management from the IIM Lucknow and bachelor degree in electrical engineering from VJTI Mumbai. So beyond that, he has been pursuing the study of Sanskrit language and Carnatic music from the age of 13 years. These are his two passions. He completed his master's in Sanskrit in 2017 and currently pursuing PhD in Indic leadership from Chinmaya Vishwavidyapith. As a passionate Indic scholar, he has authored several articles on various subjects and also gives performance combining Indian music, Sanskrit, and Indic philosophy, Indic tradition, etc., making it delight for the listeners. So with this, let us welcome Sri Subramanian Chidambaran. Thank you.
A very good morning, good afternoon to all of you here. For a change, I'm going to be speaking without slides. As a consultant, we have been used to slides all our life. But over the last few years, I've realized the pleasure of speaking also without slides. It's always a great opportunity to connect with young minds and also talk on one of my favorite topics, which is sustainability. And in this case, it is sustainability in the Indic perspective as well. So it's even more special. I think in the Indic tradition, we have this aspect where you have the essence of the science, Shastra, already quoted first in the form of Sutra, and then everybody then tries to give commentary on it, to expand it. To me, it seems like that. With Gaurang Das ji and Professor Ramasubramanian already putting the essence out there, now probably the rest of the sessions have to just elaborate on few aspects that they have already touched upon. So coming from the corporate side, let me begin a bit from that perspective and then move into the Indic forum. Growth is something which everyone aspires for, right? As an individual, we want to grow. In our personal life, we want to grow. As organizations, we want to grow. As economies, we want to grow. Gaurangji started the address itself with that, saying that we are growing as an economy, 5th largest, moving towards 3rd largest, etc. Most of the times when you talk about growth, when you talk about organizations, what do you translate as growth? Revenues, profits, market share. In countries, economy, GDP, etc. Most of the times this growth that we talk about is translated or understood in terms of materials that are being sold. So for an organization, growth means I need to sell more. If I've sold 100 today, I need to sell 200 tomorrow. That is growth. Nowadays, there is a concept called as sustainable growth. When you think about it, you find the very contradiction in this term, sustainable growth. We just heard the speaker speak about sustainability. If I'm going to keep selling more and consuming more, that is not sustainable, but that is growth. Then what is sustainable growth? So there is an inherent contradiction in this term called sustainable growth. One thing that we have all missed noting in the last many decades is there is a difference between the physical world and the money world. In olden days, it was much easier. The money world worked on physical materials. You had golden coins and silver coins and bronze and copper coins, which were used as means of currency. So there is a limitation to how much money can be floating around. in a system. With that coming to paper currency and today to even notional currency, that world is pretty much moving towards an infinite space. But the physical world is not. We have not effectively delinked these two spaces, the physical world and the money world. That is why when we talk about revenues, we are constantly linking it up to how much have we sold, what is our physical sales, and linking it up with that. So the point for us to think about here, since I have just a few minutes, I'm just going to be leaving you with a few thoughts for you to ponder upon through the day and the rest of the time. So the point is, as you think about growth in your revenue and profits, is it feasible for you to think of growth without increasing your physical output much? This is something which organizations have to think. It doesn't mean that I've manufactured 10 products today. Tomorrow I need to manufacture 20 products for me to grow. I can sell the 10 products itself at a higher value, which means that I am value adding to the product. I am thinking about how can the same product do multiple things. How can I get more productivity and efficiency out of the same product? How am I thinking about value selling, solution selling with the same product? So, from a practical perspective, organizations need to start thinking about or delinking the physical growth or the growth in terms of their products and in terms of how they are thinking about growth in terms of revenues and profits. So this is one thought for organizations who want to solve both these purposes. And this is where technology comes into place. Because technology is going to tell you how to do this. If you are going to be selling a product today, and that is the way things are going today. If things are selling at 50 rupees today, tomorrow if it sells at 30 rupees, it becomes more affordable. But that's not the way sustainable growth is going to happen. Because if the same product is selling at 30 rupees tomorrow, you have to produce more products to generate that same amount of value. So this is going to be a never-ending game, which is not going to lead to sustainability. So the question is, how do you create more value in products? How do you create more premium? We will come about the affordability part later. That is not the part of discussion here. To say how to make things more affordable, that has got a very different dynamics altogether. That is not the dynamics here we are discussing at all. So technology is going to play a big role for you to think about this in an innovative way. The next I'm going to come is the point which Subramanian sir already started and probably even elaborated on a lot, the need versus want. In marketing literature, this gets defined at the beginning of the marketing studies of what is the need and what is the want. Because when you're going towards customer buying behavior and customer needs and wants, that is the first thing to understand. But with the way we are progressing towards understanding this need and want and these blurred lines between the two, we are only creating or pushing more of wants into the need category. The point here is to say that if there is a constant increase in demand, there is no way things are going to be sustainable. That is very clear. If there is going to be a constant need, constant growth in your output or the demand that is there is no way that things are going to return or move towards sustainability. So the only way to do it is how are you going to manage the need versus the want. This is where, again, technology is going to play a big role to say that how is efficiency going to play a much better role in trying to moderate or optimize your needs. If I need 10 units of energy, how can I do the same product with 5 units of energy? How can I satisfy the same need with 5 units of energy? That is where the thought process has to go. That means my energy consumption is reduced, while the need remaining the same. But if I say that just because I have efficient products and my 10 units have come down to 5, now I will buy 3 products. Then that is not contributing to sustainability. So while your need remaining the same, how do you make things more and more efficient? That is the pathway for us to lead towards sustainability. And the point I mentioned earlier is to say that this necessarily does not mean that the companies will have to degrow. This does not necessarily mean that the economy has to degrow. The economy can still grow. Only your metrics of growth has to be different. You should be defining growth in a different way, not in the way that we are defining them today. This is where I come to the aspect of IKS. I think all my earlier speakers spoke about dharma, artha and kama, which we call as trivarga. We will not touch upon moksha for now. So if you look at trivarga, artha kama, everybody understands. That is what we are talking about, the needs, the desires and everything. IKS says that artha kama, if it is not satisfied through dharma, does not work for society. It says dharma moolau hi artha kamo. Dharma is the moola for artha and kama. What does dharma mean? Various definitions, but basically something that is holding you together, something that is acting as a substratum. Yah dharyate. That means it is defining a boundary. It is defining a periphery within which you have to operate. If that periphery is not defined, artha kama can go anywhere. They can be infinite. And that is what we are experiencing. So if artha kama has to get contained, there has to be a container, there has to be a boundary, there has to be certain limiting conditions, and that is defined by dharma. And in a more simplistic way, dharma speaks about duty and not right. The discourse, popular discourse we have today is about rights. We have the right to do this. This is our right. Dharma shifts the conversation or the discussion towards duty. What is your duty? Just think about that. Right comes much later. If everyone becomes more duty bound to say that this is what I am out to do or I am supposed to do and not necessarily bother about what is my rightful outcome out of this again, the aspect with need versus want will be controlled to a decent extent. Finally, this entire thing is emanating from an individual versus a connected ecosystem concept. Do you treat yourself as this individual who is operating, or do you consider yourself as a part of a connected ecosystem? So as my earlier speaker spoke about, it requires a lot of mindset shifts and behavioral thinking shifts. But even without those, or as those progress in parallel, there are still a lot more things that you can do. A very recent example is the Global Plastics Treaty that happened this year or last year, where there were discussions on how to really manage plastics, the entire life cycle of plastics. And the disagreement came when they started putting caps on the production of plastic. So they are fine with managing the life cycle of plastic. They are fine with discussing disposal and usage mechanisms, but they are not fine with putting a cap on producing plastics. So this is the problem here, that if you don't stop or put caps on your production, on the very source that is producing these things, this is an infinite process. Sustainability is not going to be anywhere near in the future. So with those few words, I wish you all a very good day, and I hope the further discussions will be more enlightening and triggering your thoughts. Thank you so much.